Hello and welcome to Echoes of Valor, where extraordinary stories of courage, resilience, and hope from those who lived through war are shared. Join us as we honor the untold narratives, amplify their voices, and inspire a community united in remembrance and gratitude. Subscribe now to be moved by the power of human spirit and ensure these tales of bravery never fade away. Deep in the dense jungles of Vietnam, a remote outpost stood as a fragile bastion against the perils of war. 5 American soldiers, Sergeant Jacobson, Corporal Rodriguez, Private Thompson, Private Allen, and Private Jenkins, found themselves stationed at this secluded position. Cut off from the outside world, they relied on their camaraderie and resourcefulness to survive in the midst of chaos. One moonlit night, the soldiers were on high alert, listening to the distant sounds of gunfire and the rustling of leaves. As they took turns keeping watch, the tension in the air was palpable. Suddenly, their senses sharpened as they noticed movement in the shadows. Sergeant Jacobson, a seasoned soldier with a heart full of conflicted loyalty, squinted his eyes to get a clearer view. He saw a silhouette slowly making its way toward their position. It was a lone figure, cautiously moving through the undergrowth. The soldiers tightened their grips on their weapons, ready to defend themselves. As the figure drew nearer, the moonlight revealed that it was a young Vietnamese woman, dressed in tattered clothing, carrying a rifle slung over her shoulder. Her face showed the weariness and desperation brought about by the war. The soldiers exchanged anxious glances, torn between their duty as soldiers and the humanity within them. Corporal Rodriguez broke the silence, his voice tense yet compassionate. "Sarge, what do we do? She could be a trap or an innocent soul lost in this madness." Sergeant Jacobson contemplated the situation, knowing that the young woman would pose a threat if she discovered their presence. The consequences of letting her go were equally dire. "We can't risk our position, but we also can't abandon our humanity," he replied, his voice filled with resolve. Private Thompson, the youngest member of the group, spoke up with a shaky voice. "Maybe we can capture her, disarm her, and try to communicate. Who knows? She might be able to lead us to valuable information." The soldiers nodded in agreement, understanding that the situation required careful handling. Slowly, they devised a plan to apprehend the young Vietnamese soldier. Each of them would position themselves strategically, ready to move at a moment's notice. It was a risky endeavor, but they felt it was the only way to ensure their survival and potentially gather valuable intelligence. As the young woman approached the outpost, oblivious to the lurking danger, Private Allen lunged forward from the dense foliage and swiftly disarmed her. Startled, the young woman struggled against his grip, her eyes filled with fear and defiance. Sergeant Jacobson, his voice laced with reassurance, called out to her in broken Vietnamese. "We don't want to hurt you. We want to talk. Can you understand us?" The young woman's gaze darted between the soldiers, her face mirroring the conflict within her. She realized that her captors, though enemies, were giving her a chance at life. Slowly she nodded, indicating her comprehension. Over the course of the following days, a fragile understanding began to form between the soldiers and the young Vietnamese woman. Through broken translations and gestures, they discovered that her name was Linh, and she had been conscripted into the Viet Cong against her will. She had lost her family to the war, leaving her with no choice but to fight for survival. The soldiers, seeing the war from a new perspective, started questioning their own role in the conflict. They began to understand that the line between friend and foe was often blurred, and compassion and empathy could be powerful tools, even amidst the chaos of war. As the weeks passed, the soldiers and Linh shared stories of their lives, hopes, and dreams. They recognized the shared humanity that connected them all, despite being on opposite sides of the conflict. The bond they forged transcended their differences, highlighting the futility of the war tearing their country apart. Eventually, the day came when Linh had to leave the outpost to avoid suspicion from her comrades. The soldiers bid her farewell, a mix of emotions swirling in their hearts. The encounter with Linh had forever changed their perspectives, instilling in them a desire for peace and understanding. In the years that followed, the soldiers never forgot their time with Linh. They carried her memory and the lessons they had learned deep within them, striving to make a positive impact on the world, long after the war ended. The young Vietnamese woman became a symbol of the shared humanity they had discovered amidst the chaos of battle, reminding them that even in the darkest of times, compassion and understanding could bridge the deepest divides. Thank you for joining us on this journey through untold war stories, where heroes' voices are finally heard. Remember to honor their sacrifice and keep their legacies alive. Like and subscribe for more untold stories, and join us as we unveil the hidden chapters of history.